This slide is titled Implementation Deadlines, but it's actually just implementation timeline. We just wanted to underline the fact that, deadlines here are very important. So the first thing is this meeting. So it's a quick introduction, it's choosing the system, assigning roles, and getting started with the work. The second phase is basic preparation. So this is what has to happen. The first thing, you need to receive a proof of the legal compliance. So the legal team has to accept the marketing automation system that you provided and provide guidelines as to what you can do versus what you cannot do. So for example, they have to say, if you want to gather leads for a newsletter, then you have to create a checkbox saying, okay, so I agree with this and this law. So this is what I have to provide at the beginning so that the whole process is compliant with all the laws. The second thing is actually implementing the tool. The IT department has to paste the script on the website. And I'm not talking about some advanced implementation. This is just complete basics. All you need is the tracking code in the right place. The next thing is learning the platform. So all your team managers have to watch all the tutorials, be aware of how it works. Then you can move on to onboarding the team onto the platform, training the team. This might seem hard or, not very sensible because nobody likes to watch 2 hours of tutorial. But believe me, this will save you hours down the road. Without learning it and without, watching 1 hour or 2 hours of tutorials, you will waste hundreds of hours repeatedly making the same mistakes and not knowing how to solve some problem. And the last thing is that internally within the team, so support team separately, sales team separately, marketing team separately, you have to start thinking about how do you want to structure the data, how do you want to tag users and so on. Don't worry about this. This is very easy and I will provide you templates for performing this step. At this point, all you have to do is put the ground under the implementation. So during the second meeting, you make a quick update around the legal team, report, and you show how the implementation works on your website. Also, you start discussing the standards of running the system. So everything that each team has prepared internally, you now have to discuss openly between the teams and decide on some final rules of how we're going to run the system. So this will be just a quick meeting, more of an update before you go on to the second phase of the implementation. Then it will be the time to start thinking about certain automations. And don't get me wrong, this is not where you start thinking about all the systems that you want to implement and all the systems that you want to integrate and making huge processes around lead nurturing and stuff. Now, you want to start small. If you start by making, huge ideas around what you could implement, then you'll get tangled into all those, decision makers and those processes and stuff. The best way to start is to implement small stuff, like send a chat message when the user does this, or send an email when the user does that. Getting first results, getting first improvements in conversion, and showing everyone that this, the system works, that it's easy to use, that you can get quick results is a very important step. So you want to land a proof of concept before the full-fledged implementation. So in this phase, each team separately will think about the automations that will make their life easier, but without making huge, complicated ideas. During the third meeting, you just come together, make a huge list of all the ideas for automations that each team came up with, and you make a final short list of what can be automated. So it's great to have the legal team present during the meeting so that they can make comments regarding the automations, but in most cases this is not required. So very quick meeting, just sum up all the ideas, choose the ones that you want to integrate and go to the next phase. So let's say you had an idea that you'll create a cadence that will onboard the users in your system. So for example, 10 emails, each email 1 week. So someone has to write the content of this email, and this is the moment when you do that. So you start with, the email content, the design of the landing pages that you need, the, pop-up forms, everything that you need has to be prepared now. Then you can also test those automations on your website. I'll move on later to show you how you can test those on your website. And if your automations need some custom data sources or event implementations, then this is where you can do that. But as I said before, I would rather stick to the most simple ideas available. And the last meeting, the fourth meeting, this is where you finally meet and you can show that every automation is ready, that it has been tested, and that you're ready for the full rollout of the system. At the end, I would like to add some, side notes. The first thing is that I left the dates of each meeting blank so that you can, together decide on the dates that suit everyone. If you can schedule all those meetings during the first meeting, that's perfect. If not, then at least it's great to schedule the next meeting so that you have clear deadlines for performing all the tasks. That's one thing. The second thing is that, as you can see, there is no phase for full implementation, like all the processes together, all the data sources and stuff. This is because once you get started, once you start implementing first automations, once the code is up on the website, once you get all the communication flowing, then it's a lot easier for you to continue. And those next steps are very custom. There are no rules, so it'll be hard for me to actually give you any great advice. What I can tell you is that starting quickly is the most important thing. Later, you'll do just fine.